What's going on? How you doing? You guys can give a thumbs up for the live, that'd be awesome. Starting a little bit early today. Traffic was really good getting up here, so I didn't have to fight any major traffic jams. I live on the south end of town, and I gotta drive to this fire department. I gotta drive all the way to the north end of town. How's it going, guys? If you guys can give the thumbs up. Got a couple different things I've thought about talking about today. If you guys got any things you want to talk about, leave them on the bottom on the comments, and let's take a look. First thing I kind of wanted to hint on, and I was reading or listening to the radio this morning, and they were talking about the most unfit states, and Ohio ranked number 10. Dead Orchard, it kind of depends, buddy. I usually try to walk. I don't count like per time. I usually try to get 3 hours of walking in a week. So today I'll probably get 40 minutes or so, somewhere around there. I don't really time exactly how far I walk, but I try to walk a little bit after every meal due to increase in insulin sensitivity and helping with recovery. So I just try to get so much per week. And I don't measure it, but I just get a rough idea. And I can tell a big difference on how fast I heal. What's going on, Hard Knocks? You ever have open gym sessions? Yeah, I do. I just charge a fee to come in and train with us. But if you want to come down and do your own thing, it'd be a little bit cheaper. So yeah, if you ever want to come down and train with us, you can. We have people visiting all the time. We got a guy coming from way north Canada, like Montreal, this weekend. We had a guy from New York City come a couple weekends ago. So yeah, we do that kind of stuff. We were talking about Ohio being the 10th most unfit state, and they were measuring that due to Ohio having a large prevalence of smoking. But I think it's funny that you find that some of the most unfit states are the poorest states. So they said that the worst state was Louisiana. And I find it interesting because, you would think that, it's probably more expensive to eat clean than it is dirty. And, they probably live off fast food, which isn't wrong. But I think a lot of it too is just laziness. And what I mean by that is, I can tell you, doing it both ways, when I was 300 plus pounds as a competitive powerlifter, I had to eat a lot of calories, and doing that clean was not easy. But I can tell you now that eating super clean and prepping most of my meals, that it's way cheaper than even eating fast food. I find it interesting when people are like, only rich people can afford to eat super clean and get all the nutrients and all that. You see a lot of people talking about that. It's bullshit. It's laziness. They don't want to go to the grocery store. They don't want to prep their food. So let's just be honest with each other. Going out to eat at a fast food restaurant at bare minimum is going to cost you around $15, right? If you get a value meal, you get maybe one extra small sandwich. Hell, you even go to McDonald's for breakfast. You're not walking out there for less than 10 or 12 bucks. I can tell you right now, I can have a 50-gram protein breakfast with high fiber, good nutrients, high antioxidants for anywhere between $4 to $6 at home. So I find it interesting that we talk about socioeconomics, and it's interesting that healthier states are usually more wealthier states. But But I find that that's more of a mindset than it is a financial issue. It's just people are so lazy that they want to be fed, and they want it fast, and they want it easy. And I find that that's a huge problem with everything that we deal with today. You want to be super strong, and you want to do it smart and not beat up your body. It's not fast. It's slow. And I'll be the first one to tell you, and again, I think it's a lot of the reasons why there's a popularity drop, with real content producers. I don't try to blow smoke up anybody's ass on strength training on how to get better. It's a long, tedious, consistent road. And if you're not wired for that, then fitness is not for you. But it's funny because you see the eating clean, probably less than 5% of the population do it. Working out, less than 5% of the population do it on a consistent basis. It's all because it's not simple and it's not fast. It kind of goes back into weight loss a little bit. It's funny because one of my uncles that I rarely talk to, one of my dad's brother's younger brother that my dad never got along with, and there's a decent reason for that. He's hard to get along with. He's just very opinionated, and he's not the smartest guy in the world. Long story short, he is taking Majaro to lose weight because he's fucking lazy, right? Again, back to our original thing. And he's lost like 50 pounds because he was like 300 pounds, and now he's all pro, these drugs to lose weight. And again, if you're morbidly obese and you have issues with appetite, it might be one thing that if you're dying within the next year or two, maybe that's a good alternative. But if you're trying to lose that stubborn 20, 30 pounds, you're probably just going to need to change your lifestyle, right? And that's just things people don't want to do. They'd rather take a drug that suppresses appetite. But what I can tell you from what I've seen in the last couple of years and the different departments I work with is that as soon as those people get off those drugs, they're back to the weight that they gained plus more. What's going on, Gavin? So again, there's no quick fixes, is the point. The point is if you want to lose weight, it's going to take time. You walk 10 years into the forest, you're going to have to walk 10 years out. And if you think fixing something in 30 days that you've destroyed in 20 years is going to be a good idea, it's probably not going to be. Igor, no book update, buddy. It's actually agitating to get any questions on it. I have no fucking idea what human kinetics is doing. Like I said, I've turned in my part of the work, and they've had it for 2.5 years. My thought process is that publishing companies are struggling hard because people don't read anything anymore. Like, you think about it, like, I'll be a prime example. If I didn't go to school and go to college and have to get a bunch of books for biomechanics and exercise phys and anatomy, would I've ever bought those books on my own? Probably not. So the point is the average person walking around is not really an avid reader, right? We are sucked into shit like this, on YouTube and Instagram, and Facebook takes up all of our time. Whereas 100 years ago, if you wanted new information or something, you read a book, a magazine, an article, a newspaper. I think just things being printed are just not doing well unless there's already a solid market. So I can't blame human kinetics because, to be honest with you, writing books is a waste of time. And it sucks to say that. But the point is, if you're looking at it from a monetary standpoint, you're going to spend, like I did, 3 years writing a book, getting it all perfect, and then you're probably not going to make any money back when you look at how many hours you put in stuff. Yeah, TikTok is the way out, yeah. Yeah, that's why we're getting dumber and why everybody fears AI so bad, is because as a society, we're not smarter than we were 100 years ago. You know, the average man in 1920, 1930 could have probably built a house with his own hands. You know, could have found his own food and hunted it. You know, done all those things like that. And now we just have a bunch of babies. So it's interesting, like my thought process. I think technology's made us extremely lazy. And it's tough because I'm in a non-lazy work environment, meaning like, you know, my job, my income is based off of not being lazy. So it's a constant upstream fight. Yeah, it might be AI. I don't think it can rule everything. I think a lot of the stuff that people do in person is going to be difficult to replicate. You know, if you look at coaching, for example, I don't think AI can write workouts, but they can't look at someone, decide where their weaknesses are, correct those motor patterns with proper coaching, and then implement a proper system. So I'm pretty confident, you know, the next 10 or 15 years, which even if I work that long, that will be taken over. But what I find interesting that AI is hurting really bad is in-person conferences, seminars, and things like that. I think people think that they can watch a video and then they know how to do it. I'll be the first to tell you. About, maybe it was a year or two ago, I did a seminar at my facility. And I'd asked them if they'd seen Wenning warm-ups, and you know, all of them, because they were fans, raised their hands. How many have used Wenning warm-ups? All of them raised their hands. Okay, and this was, I think it was a bench seminar. And so I said, show me tricep push downs, lat pull downs, and another, maybe a pressing exercise. Well, I can't remember what it was. And there was 14 people in the seminar, and 11 out of the 14 were doing 2 out of the 3 exercises wrong. They weren't either keeping their shoulder blades back when they were benching. Their lat pull downs were mostly arms and not back muscles. Their push downs were mostly front anterior delt. So I'm asking myself, is that information transferable over to people if it's not in person? And the answer is no. Because the problem is AI can't give you proprioception. And for those of you that don't know what proprioception is, it's the body's ability to control or manipulate your own systems in order to create a proper movement pattern. And so what I find is that as we get weaker and lazier, these different muscle groups, usually on posterior chain, they get a lot weaker, they get a lot more disconnected, and they make compound movements agitate spinal cords, hip joints, knees, things of this nature that turns physical exercise into punishment or pain. And I think AI is never going to be able to straighten that out, at least not in the future, not in the near future. But yeah, it's interesting because, you know, we use pieces of AI in our business, and it does make things a lot quicker, but it still needs triple checked. You still have to go over a lot of different things to get things straight. And so it's a long way off from being perfect. Gavin, I wouldn't worry about arm size right now. At your age, you need to be worried about structure. So your upper back, your glutes, your hamstrings, your core. Those are the things that are going to allow you to do training protocols that will focus on small muscle groups like biceps or arms and not damage yourself down the road. So don't get caught up in what you see on social media or what you maybe what you glamorize, like, you know, when you see bodybuilding magazines or whatever. You got to remember that training is about structure and balance and coordination and the body's ability to stay away from injuries and protect the joints. And so it sucks to see somebody at 14 worrying about arm size when I'd rather have them worrying about sustaining posture and focusing on spinal health and these types of things, the things that will allow you to do the training that you're going to need to do in the future. So I think that's what you got to really focus on. What's up, Mark Vasquez? Hope you're doing all right. If you guys can, hit the like button. I know that YouTube's made the like button almost hidden at this point. And that was the other thing I was going to get at too, is I was talking to one of my good friends. It's pretty high up in social media. His name is Midwest Kong, or Brandon. He's an ex-jiu-jitsu guy, black belt in jiu-jitsu, that went into bench pressing, and I think he still has the world record with the 225. He's done, I think, 84 or 86 reps with 225. And he's talking about how social media is kind of a waste of time nowadays. So I saw a huge downtick probably 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, where YouTube changed something, and my revenue on YouTube basically got cut down 30% on what I was making beforehand. And which super sucks, because it's really like doing these like YouTube lives and posting a lot of these shorts is really not valuable to me at all. And I think you're going to see a lot of creators that are even middle grade, not even starting, but like guys like me with over 100,000 subscribers. You're going to see them start falling towards the wayside, because if it's not valuable to, you know, buy the expensive phones to record and get the microphones and edit and cut all these videos and have to have all of these apps to be able to do the video editing, you're going to see a lot of people just start falling off. I do back 2 times a week just in case. I think my back is pretty straight. I sit mostly upright. That's good, Kevin. That's awesome. But you're probably not going to see your peak. Let's just talk about arm development. You're probably not going to see how big your arms are truly going to be till you're probably about 28 to 30. If you look at a lot of top pro bodybuilders, you know, a lot of them don't make it to the top ranks until they're close to 30. But the key is you got to make it to 30. You got to train smart. You got to not tear your biceps. You got to not screw up your shoulders. You got to do everything to where mileage is always a consideration. Because the thing of it is that having small goals like arm size or something like that might be cool at first, because, you know, it's what everybody talks about on social media and the magazines. In reality, if you're not doing it smart, it can cause more damage than good. So, point being is no short-term fixes, right? And that's the kind of the topic for today is, if you need to lose 500 pounds or 300 pounds or 200 pounds, maybe Manjaro, Ozempic, and all that stuff is for you. That's definitely an appetite and eating disorder issue that you may need to be restructured from. But again, what we've seen and what I've seen, at least marginally, is people that take that kind of stuff lose a shitload of muscle mass and bone density. So you have to be real careful with that. Why I got them, I pretty much. Stretch marks, in my opinion, Gavin, are usually genetic. You know, you have some women that can have 10 kids and they never get one stretch mark on their stomach. You get some people that have one kid super young when their skin's still elastic, and they get stretch marks out the wazoo. So stretch marks, in my opinion, are usually genetic. Some people are predispositioned to get them and some people aren't. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily an issue or an impedance from you stopping training or doing anything like that. I really don't have a lot of stretch marks even from when I was 300 pounds. Actually, I don't think I have any. But sorry, but my mom doesn't have stretch marks from having kids either. So I think some of that's genetic. So again, just roll the dice, buddy. But again, like I said, short-term gains, and that's why I'm always been a huge fan of concurrent training, like what we do. What's going on, Derek? Derek DeMeyer, chirp, chirp. Yep, that's Ball State. I don't know when they start back school, but it's got to be pretty soon. Every time I go back to Ball State, I get a little bit more discouraged. I don't know. It seems like they're putting so much money into the facilities, and every time I see a professor change or a faculty change, I'm looking at these people and I don't know who they are. And so to me, it's almost like they've gotten rid of the top level professors and went for top level buildings and that wow factor for admissions versus actually having the quality. When I was at Ball State, it wasn't a fancy school. They had just finished a bell tower, which was the only fancy thing we had, but we had some amazing professors there, some of the top in the world. And now, I don't think it's that way, especially in my old department, At 80 kgs times 5 bench now, I'm at 74 kg body weight. The 2 plate mark, I don't know. Everybody's different, It depends on a lot of factors. So for progression in strength, you have to look at, are you training smart? Are you recovering correctly? What's your anthropometrics or your biomechanics of how you're built? If you're 74 kgs and you're only 5'4", probably got pretty good leverages to bench. But if you're 74 kgs and you're 6'3", it might take a while. So strength, in my opinion, is a long-term endeavor. And I think Bodybuilding 404, asking, I don't know centimeters, I'd have to look that up. We do everything in English measurements, but you know what 169 centimeters is tall-wise? What's 169 centimeters in height? He doesn't fucking know either. So, point being is, there's a lot of factors to that. The one thing I would recommend is, at least to fix the training part, is make sure you go in and get the manuals off the website and take a look at the training there and see, because we have 18 guys at the gym that bench over 330. How tall?
5'5".
5'5". Yeah, if you're 5'5" and 73 kg, yeah, you should be able to do that. Dealt for 110 last month. My back completely straight. Yeah, 110 kg shit post Gavin's it's not a heavy deadlift, so you're fine there. Just make sure your form is impeccable and make sure you're changing up your technique. So sumo stance, conventional stance, train a lot of double overhand so your hands are getting as strong while your body's getting strong. I think the real safest way to deadlift, if you want my opinion on it, is to deadlift with a double overhand. You really I've only ever seen people get hurt on the deadlift that use a mixed grip or straps. And I don't remember exactly what the paper said to the T. I just remember the end result and the conclusion. But they talked about your grip is your connector into your lower back, meaning if you're masking grip strength with straps or an over-under hand position, it can put your back at a higher level of strain. So you want to be able to pick up a decent amount of weight double overhand. Double overhand is good. So I think you need to start getting really careful with the deadlift, Gavin, somewhere around 250 kg. So 250 kg is going to be where everything gets really important, but you need to be real careful about getting up that far. So yeah, just like I said, be slow, be methodical. Don't worry about numbers right now. Worry about technique. Everything's technique. So 67 kg at 5'7", yeah, you're built to be able to bench probably. You're just gonna have to be patient with it. Make sure you focus on your triceps. If you got any more questions on that, Gavin, on the bench, like I said, hop on top tier Patreon and let's take a look at some stuff and follow the workouts like what we're doing at the gym. Hook grip. I would say hook grip, if you can do it, it's probably safer than mixed grip, because if you look at when you're twisting, when your hand's over under, so you're going to develop different muscles in your back at different spots than you would on the other hand, which can lead to shoulder and neck and spine issues long term. I remember listening to, I think it was Travis Mash, which is an acquaintance. If you can, go look him up a little bit. But we were talking about the imbalances over a 20, 30-year career that mixed grip creates. So I think if you can, if your fingers are long enough and you can use a hook grip, for sure, it's definitely safer than mixed grip. I think it's also why people tend to be able to pull more with straps, because they can maintain a double overhand position, and then that makes their back more symmetrical. So again, back to what we're talking about, no shortcuts. Don't shortcut diet, don't shortcut training, don't shortcut trying to get your goals too fast. So that's for Gavin and those guys. You want to make sure that you're trying to look at everything long term, because a lot of you guys, you'll want to get where I'm at my age. I'll be 46 in like a month, and knees, ankles, back, shoulders, elbows, they're all good. And I was a record holder or a contender for a record holder for 18 years, and I competed for 30. So doing it super smart, and that's the trick, because it's tough to say, and I've lost friends that have been, their identity is 100% lifting, but you could be the best lifter in the world, and once you retire, you're not going to be shit to anybody. Like in the lifting world, doesn't matter. Yeah, you can bulk up and that'll help strength. You just got to balance out blood work. And that's the other thing too, is like so many people that are worried about gaining weight for strength. Look at your blood panel, get blood work done, and make sure you're not doing any irreversible damage, right? You have to do it slow and smooth, because if you gain a bunch of weight with junk food, etc., you're probably going to have some adverse effects you don't want. Yeah, if you don't check your blood work ever, not a good idea. You can catch a lot of things before they get serious by checking your blood work. The other thing you could do, Bodybuilding 404, is come down to the gym and do a bioprint, and we can get some inflammation markers for you and see what you might need to reduce that. It's one of those things that we offer at the facility that goes in spurts. I'd say in the last 4 or 5 months, I've done, 20 bioprints, and I think I should have 5 or 6 of those appointments a week, just to be able to help people without having to go get super expensive blood work. Yeah, you definitely want to get the blood work done. So usually when I have somebody come on to online coaching and I'm doing it personally, which is more expensive than what we have on the website, one of the mandates is that they have to go get blood work and bring it to me in person to go over everything, which is why I'm more expensive. On regular online coaching on the website, we basically help you guys write workouts, try to design it as good as we can via satellite, but we don't ask for bioprints and blood work. When you guys do online coaching with me, all that stuff's built in, but it takes a certain level of money to fly in every 6 to 10, 12 weeks and get those rechecked. And I have a handful of guys that do it, but I try to keep it, exclusive as possible. So again, if it's something that you're looking to message us on the website, and we can do it 2 ways. But, my biggest thing is make sure you're getting blood work done. And again, don't do things the fast way. The fast way is just to eat 2,000 more calories a day and put on more weight. You're going to get stronger, but you could be increasing blood pressure. You could be making your triglycerides and cholesterol go through the roof. all of these things that are going to age you way faster down the road. So you want to be careful with that. Well, I think that was a pretty good live. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Makes my walk go a little bit faster. If you guys can, go check out wenningstrength.com. Check out Patreon. You know, a lot of you guys probably need to be on there following those workouts, and your strength would definitely be better. Your joint pain would be lower. You'd be able to have access to me and ask questions whenever you want. So it's a pretty good setup. So talk to you guys later.